Hello, and this is the completion of the 10th day of August 2018. It is a Saturday. My name is Derek. This is the Money Charts channel. Like always, all bets, trades, and of the like. Well, that's within each's own risk and their own reward. Starting off in the weekly chart upon Bitcoin, which we can see from the run up on April, or since April, is in this consolidation mode. We're still going sideways within this level. This is now like 6 weeks completed, as there's only a day left to go as I'm doing this before the week comes to a completion. It's in the attempt of leaving this 18 average as of now, but until it's able to break down below the support or have a break above this resistance, well, to me, it's just going to stay sideways in this neutral consolidation. And the longer it does that, well, within the monthly chart, it'll just keep on doing the sideways stuff as it catches up for the 18 along the way. But we've seen this nice, beautiful sideways consolidation, further acceleration from here since the price action has been getting above and staying above the 18. It would mean a huge sentiment that it's probably not only going to test this high, but more likely than that, break that level with very little to no resistance. And when I say little resistance, that's for this time frame. Maybe it stays up there for a few months. That would be just a little bit of resistance, or has one price correction, say it goes 20 down to 14, then it breaks it. That's little resistance for Bitcoin's volatility within the long term. And every time I've been saying before with different charts, oh, I'm looking, okay, I want to see it, if you can see it stay and hold above for a little bit. That's a good sign. Well, that's what we're seeing here. I want to see it hold and stay above around 7,500, 7,800, and it has done that so far for one completed month, and we're on day number 10 so far, so a third of the way so far through in this period. It could be a breakout period, it could still be a down one, or it could keep this pause. We'll wait and see upon it, but it's a long-term bull market, and I'd have to think that the likelihood is breaking out upon the range to the upside. Now, just as I mentioned on the daily, or in a sideways consolidation within a larger trend before then, well, that's the case in here. For we have the resistance at about, we'll say 20,000 and support at 3. And that's very volatile, but it is as it is. And of course, his primary move was the one that happened. Everything in here, there was its sideways consolidation as well. So it went through that, broke it to the upside, had a good gain. And I would, of course, think the same thing on a break of this resistance as well. And back to the daily, there's that sideways consolidation from its primary uptrend that it had from April 1st, of course, up until it got past this resistance at the end of June. So it's been a couple weeks shy of 2 months, better than a month and a half now, since it's got above this 9,800 level of resistance, and it's just still in there. So we'll switch it up for the tether as we go to the shorter term time frame. And again, as I'm saying all this, we're doing this while we're into this range. When it comes down to the 1 minute time frame, it's just really choppy right now. Okay, maybe it's going to try to hold this, but it's from a choppy action. What happened today was, well, this move here. It just congested, over congested, we'll state, amongst this very key Fibonacci level. And the Fibonacci level is a range bound fib of this high and this high. So unable to get this market into a bullish territory, and this sell off to me states, okay, this keeps what this neutral range into the range is neutral. And normally ranges are neutral on that, which is of course coming from an uptrend, which is where when you say usually when these things break out, they'll break out to the primary trend. And that just means more times than not, greater than 50%. And within it, you're going to have choppy moves back and forth. So this thing could very easily be going back to 10.6. But I see several periods since the spread candle where it's just been grinding its way lower. When we take a look at this on the single hour time frame, we can see all of this resistance that it's got, almost like a descending triangle kind of deal. It's already taken out its intraday lows, and it's been resisting it over the last few hours. It's finally caught up within this 18, but that was a pretty decent sized decline. So to take a look at how this decline acted out, I'm going to go to the 1 minute. I'm just going to scroll all the way back and take a look at it and just find when it happened. And this is here when it happened. So how long did it take to happen? I won't spoil it because I've already looked at it before, but it's not long. So here we are, a little after 7 o'clock New York City time. Oh, okay. So this hour here, or minute rather, it went down only a 1/4%. And then, okay, just hanging in there, pause period, and consolidating within it. But there's a decline, okay, breaking down, and that's when it starts. Now broken down below this resistance. This is down 1/4% on that minute, and that's a justifiably large move. 1.28% in 1 minute. The next minute, not as big, but still continuation decline, as this was fifth of or 0.55 down. Then another one down, that's 0.67, 2/3%. That another one down, a little over 1/3 at 37% or 0.37 down. And again, another one down at 7:30. That was 0.71%. And then it basically stopped. What did it do afterwards? Like we say, well, it's already taken out the low. It's grinded its way lower. And within the day's session, well, I don't need to go over too much more after this, but we'll take a look at it on the, we'll say 10-minute chart now. So we can see more on that decline. But what was the decline for that 10-minute period? 3.5% almost. And just a cup of coffee kind of deal. That's the nature of this business. But it's doing it, again, within this greater sideways consolidation. And really now it's at about the 50% retracement. It is now just stuck in this middle, a bull versus bear battle that you really can't give a contest winner to right now, as the battle, of course, is still being played. Therefore, in conclusion, getting it above this, well, that even strengthens how big this resistance is if it breaks it now, given how much it's tested and it's had a pullback. But market sentiment is telling me that I definitely got to be cautious at this area here around 11,006 and change, or this little more prior level of previous resistance. I guess we can call it all the way up to the fib level, but even if it comes up to like 11.5, 11.6, if it resists in there and starts to pull back, I'm going to be looking for this thing to have a move to 10.668. It hit this low here on the 1900 timestamp on August the 6th, and then had a good rally from it and held and stayed above it for quite some time. And it didn't spend much time in that area, but that's what it's doing now. It's spending a lot of time there. So that's oftentimes, again, okay, our breakdown, I'm looking for support here. Well, I see it. Now that we've had support here, we can get any type of good bounce. So far, we haven't. And if we do get that good bounce, is it just going to be a bear market rally that breaks this resistance line and again finds an area of lower high areas? Usually always a spot where you came from, but regardless of any lower high, I could go to 11,486. No matter how much higher it goes, it's going to be back to this general area for its previous level. So a lower high could be the case, but again, until we can see a clear break well above or well below where we are now, to me it's just choppy as anything, and I'm not even going to come close to trying to guess any type of short-term movements. As far as Bitcoin dominance is concerned, a little bit of a down period, but just a little bit of one. Still well above where the 18 average of highs is, only down 1.42%. And most of the day, most coins overperformed Bitcoin, but nothing too great. A lot of coins like 2, 3, 4% beating Bitcoin for today's session, but again, nothing too spectacular. And we'll start off with Theta as an altcoin, which had this run higher in here. We're looking at the 3-hour time frame, but had this run up in here after it left this sideways consolidation. It got above this for a failed breakout here, but it has been constantly going down since these August highs. Continuous downtrend. And the downtrend levels are quite decent when we consider its range of volatility, 1,400 down to under 1,000. That is 33% volatility. I take the differential of the numbers, which is maybe not quite that, close to 30. The differential is, I was going to say is 500, but it's not. It's about 450, and I take 450 divided by 960. That would be about 50% even. Yeah, pretty big. But what have we seen here? Well, we've seen that we had a little bit of a attempt here, and right now it's looking possibly like just maybe it wants to potentially, and that's a key word again, potentially on such. But this downtrend has come to an end. We had one resistance in here, but nothing good. It did okay here, better than it did here, but it ultimately fell down and it broke it to a new low, but not by much. And that was the low, at least so far. Now it's managed to get up to the 18 highs and it's done this. So we'll see here. This is another attempt. It looks like it's so far doing better here than it did here. So yet another correctionary improvement along the way. What it is doing though, it is establishing a big level of resistance here. So what would be nice on a short-term level is I see that a couple days ago it got up to 1,049. And what are we up to right now on here? It is 1,036. I'd like to see it go up at least another 10 more points and at least pierce in that general area. 15-minute time frame. It has been going up nice since the 7 o'clock, just continuing higher highs and higher lows. It's had a decent amount of legs higher, with which having the first in here, successful correction. Second in here, successful correction. Third in here, it's looking right now like we're having a successful correction because, well, it's either going to be another leg higher breaking out above this level, or it's that of a failed breakout that's going to happen. The trend so far has been that it's going higher on the short term, obviously, and we've had again the three legs. It looks as if we're ready for the fourth. It left above the 18 average of highs the first time on the correctionary mode here, and it did well after that. It left the 18 average of highs here, and of course within like 3 periods doing this, then on the fourth period it had a nice move, and well, last period it left the 18 average of highs again. And let's go on to GRS, or gross LITECOIN, next. And we had this awesome move here, which was 30.76% in one day. It wasn't that great compared to what it can do, but anytime I can get 30% in one quick move like that, I'll take it. And obviously a failed breakout. Got above this level of resistance, and a total failure amongst the correctionary band. Did not hold where it came back to where it came from in here. It managed to get by this level of key support, but we've had an update today. The session ended with an 8.16% up move. Looking at via the hourly time frame, the market managed to well, we can see complete downtrend in here. Wasn't able to get above the 18 average 3 days ago in the 6-hour timestamp, and I wasn't able to get above it here 6 days ago on the 4-hour timestamp. It did show a lot of strength back here at the 18 average of highs. But obviously it didn't result itself, didn't get above or even come close to any of these levels in here. But the point is, ever since the top, when have we had any action on here on the hourly? This one barely got above the highs. So we've had one high fail, we have a second. Definitely going to count this as a third. And I'm looking for moves that like I'm going to count this as a four since it got above the highs. I'll count. I know there's one right here. Maybe there's another one right there, trying to get above, but there's a declining action. Barely anything here. Again, barely anything there. And since then, okay, this is one here. Even here, but we can see correctionary mode, strength at the 18 highs in here, getting up, piercing above this level of resistance, but more importantly, the major consolidation here, and then a huge breakout. Okay, so this is the best it's done since the high. We'll see. This is a statement move. It's either going to be a start of at least a decent gain. We're talking decent gain. We're talking about even coming back to where it came from at 2640 area. That's a conservative target, even maybe a conservative at 25, but I think if it's going to go to 25, it's going to go to close to 27. So it's either that of a good move to at least that proportion. When I say at least, it's so many miles after that. Maybe you have a good lower high, at about 32. Maybe we go matching high. And then, of course, we could be talking about having some significant highs. Maybe we go up to 7,000, 12, and 25. Those are always possibilities, too. Of course, always less likely. But it's either starting a move there now that it's had it. I don't know if it's going to have that move. I don't know if we're going to have retracements back and then go higher. I don't know at what point that's just going to have a huge skyrocketing play. If you're trying to buy it on this move now, it's very risky in the sense that, okay, I'm going to buy at 2181. We're bullish. They could easily come back to the low 21s. And also, well, that's part of the risk. But I realize even just to move to 26 at this point, that's a gain of like 450, 20 plus percent. Okay, how much of a risk are we talking about going down here? We're talking about be 100 points. We're talking about 5%. Maybe could even be lower than that. If you're looking for like stop losses and stuff like that, that's not really my cup of tea. My cup of tea is iced tea. But that's yeah, to me, we'll see what happens. It's either that breakout to that point or the failed breakout. And if it's a failed breakout, well, what I need to see is weakness on the 18 lows, breakdown signals amongst it. As when did it show it back in here? Well, I'll go back and take a look. So it comes down to the 18 lows in here, which if it has a small move below, I mean, that's not good, but isn't failing at this point. You're seeing a little bit of a rally on that point. You're seeing some consolidation amongst it, a large, big level of support at 32, 38, and there you have the breakdown and so on and so forth. After that, it failed at that point. It wasn't able to recover when it had its recovery attempt on the July 30th, 1900 stamp. And of course, it's been nothing but down since. And now it's trying to revert it back again to the upside. We'll see how it goes. Litecoin has been getting its ass kicked too against Bitcoin, down to close to the almost breaking down below 007. And well, since this low, it established a shorter term level of resistance earlier at the 73.24. Got above it at about noon today. Since it got above it, it's been establishing again this point in here. No, it hasn't came down the 18 highs, but been close enough. And it does look to me as if it's possibly got the chance of having a good leg higher from here. I mean, a good leg higher might only be 7825, and it might be 795, but it looks as if just because of how we had this move, the sideways consolidation breaking out at this point, it still has to get above a level of that resistance. Like it has to break the slot machine number, we'll call it, all the sevens. Maybe is another way of looking at it on the short term. But again, on the daily chart, ever since this high, not that long ago, but since the breakout rally of Bitcoin, this is April the 3rd, it has been a large decline. Went for going from 185 handle to 76. That's more noticeably than half your value, 60 plus percent against it. And that's just the nature, of course, the volatility within the markets. And this went on since Bitcoin has had its gain since April the 1st. And the Bitcoin dominance, as I mentioned, I believe point A high, point B low, when we go back to the BTCD. And we take a look at its price action from, well, where's the April 1st rally? Like right here. So April 1st is when this thing got out of this sideways consolidation from the low and is broken out. So there's a key highs and lows all over the place. Key high, key low, key high. If you want to count this as a key low, I kind of do. Obviously, there's a key high here, and a key low there, and there's just a lot of them. So when the high is going to be, whether it's here, whether it's here, whether it's up here, well, time can only state. At least for this, there's a maximum number because this thing doesn't go north of 100. But that's the interesting thing. You could say all you want, but I think it's going to revert. But you could be the point where maybe it does go up here, and all it does is come back down to here and comes back to where it came from at this point. I don't think that's likely. I think it's more likely we come back to test some of these areas down in here. Of course, the market's going to do what it's going to do, and as far as putting my money where my mouth is, I kind of am betting that it will make moves towards here. But to me, patience is a virtue, and this is a long-term game, and that's basically how I'm playing it, holding altcoins as well, of course, holding Bitcoin as well. I haven't sold Bitcoin recently for altcoins because with a lot of the ones prices that I'm looking at, I've seen, you know what, if this is going to continue and the Bitcoin dominance does happen to go to 75, 77, then I probably will at that stage. And if it doesn't, great, because I'm in good position right now, as I am, for a retracement. This thing, I would think, whenever I look at a high, just like when you see in here, you got to think something like here just makes sense for a pullback. A little bit, you think maybe it woulda, shoulda came down here, woulda, shoulda, coulda, and some people won't even count this high and this low because it wasn't that much of a retracement. But again, at some point, what's the minimum amount for a good retracement? Well, at this high, I'd be thinking maybe somewhere down to about here, and that's just the minimum conservative level for where I'd be looking for the next point X low. And thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye bye.